Made in Abyss is a wonderfully haunting view into nihilism, not too unlike the feeling I get in the morning when I must once again go about my daily business, knowing that I'm a 5 with aspirations on being seen as a 6 by combing my hair for a time frame that is just a little too long, with a little too much hair product in the futile attempt to keep it in check for more than the 30 minutes it takes the humidity and heat of the Midwest to say, no thank you. It's the only time I've seen a small child get horribly and grotesquely mutilated on screen and actually said to myself, yes please, I'd like to see more of that, thank you very much. For legal reasons and for the sake of proving my own sanity, that was definitely a joke. No, you don't need to call a psychiatrist to get me the good old grippy sock treatment. There are plenty of better reasons to do that. But that still wouldn't get me even close to the sheer amount of fuckery that a certain character gets up to, and no one bats an eye at it because Bondrude has a white whistle that may or may not be made of the remains of another human being. To be fair, said man can also scale chasms using nothing other than his homegrown tail and talent hands that scream choke me daddy vibes without specifying which appendage should be used. So at the end of the day, I'm forced to say, fair enough, but I think I would be remiss if I didn't point out the beautiful way that Bondrude reflects an alter image of what all delvers could be if they both proverbially and literally dive too deep toward the darker temptations of the abyss. That's what she said. Apologies for the tasteless humor, even I'm not perfect. But speaking of temptations, can we talk about the white and black-haired woman that both haunts and eerily delights my dreams? No, I'm talking about the other white whistle holder that we meet, Ozen. Ozen is a woman that both terrifies me and simultaneously makes me involuntarily say, Mommy, sorry. Except I'm not really sorry, which is just another reason I have no right to judge the monster fuckers in the chat. She is so much more than that. Ozen is, and I caution you to take a moment to catch your breath, a child abuser. And don't get me wrong, normally tossing children into a forest of death would definitely come off as a red flag, but I'm colorblind, so I choose to think you're all wrong and that it was green all along. I mean, of course I'm unbiased and definitely condemn any such actions. And since we've taken the time to talk about the characters that make me horny, that are deep and interesting, I should talk about the group you'll be following for the majority of the screen time for a minute. Riko is probably one of the more interesting characters to dissect, not too unlike her friend Prushka. You know, sometimes I wonder if I'm going to hell. But then I remember that's probably already a guarantee, and I sleep pretty easy. Which is not the easiest thing to do when you watch something with barely concealed child nudity. Which, even with everything else involved, is still one of the only things that actually disgusted me in the show. But I digress. Riko is what you'd call a real go-getter, as in go get herself nearly killed on every occasion she has to be even remotely independent while in the abyss. It's both one of the most entertaining and simultaneously frustrating things seeing the character that should be the most knowledgeable person in the group get completely shown up in almost every situation aside from cooking. She gets carried so hard that I'm surprised Nanachi and Reg don't have constantly aching backs from all the work they put in. In the end, her real purpose is to serve as the focal point for pushing the narrative forward and using her toot-toot to give Reg a power boost. But even then, Reg still has to do 95% of the work. Next we have Nanachi. Nanachi is possibly the single most relatable character out of the rather eclectic main cast, despite looking like what I can only imagine a Build-A-Bear stuffy from hell would be like. All the stuffing is blood and guts instead of the rather more practical polyester filling, and instead of it being made using a filling station, it's instead the mixed up bits of her former body being treated like puzzle pieces that just don't quite fit. And finally, we have Reg. Yeah, got nothing. Reg's cool. And with that, the only thing to do is to move on to Season 2. From this point on, I can't promise you won't be horribly spoiled. So with that, you've been warned. So there were 2 things I didn't have on my bingo card for season 2. And if you've seen some of the earlier episodes, I'm betting you probably have a pretty good idea of what it might be. I'm not going to say it here because even for all the things that come stupidly close to breaking TOS in this video, this probably, most definitely steps over the line. And as much as I like being punished as much as the next person, that's a bit too hard, mommy YouTube. But with the new season comes a whole host of new characters. We have Lesbian Scene the Cowards Removed, Best Boy, Child Killer, Surrogate Mother, Actual Mother, because Made in Abyss is kinda fucked up, and a 100-year-old lolly, because every quality anime requires one of those. And hey, at least they kept it original. Fopta's also a furry. Really coloring outside the lines, am I right? My experience with Season 2 and the rest of Made in Abyss really is like a weird kind of high. Everything is a little bit dreamlike, which is fitting considering the name of the group we initially follow in the first few episodes has a name spelled exactly like a slang word for marijuana. It's almost like the author had some idea of what we'd all need after the depression and trauma of watching the season hit. And man, do I feel like I still haven't recovered from some of the stuff we see. Fopta is probably the character to pay the most attention to, and by that I mean if you don't, she'll either try to murder you and your whole family, or she'll have an odd infatuation with you and fall madly in love. And I do quite literally mean it when I say mad. Though I suppose I'd be pretty mad myself if my mother's body was being used as a town by the very people that caused her body to change on a biological level into a tower? Listen, I wasn't lying when I said it gets weird. And it doesn't get any better after you see the 30-foot-long snake that can shoot tentacles out of its eyes and use a pheromone to make you hallucinate. Now, I've heard of other shows having similar stuff, but it wasn't the kind of thing you'd find on a site like Crunchyroll, if you know what I mean. I stand corrected. Apparently, it is in fact allowed on sites like Crunchyroll. The more you know. Okay. Maybe we can take a look at one of the other very well-written characters, Wazukyan. Definitely no tentacle scene. Really feels like there were some pretty clear themes the author was trying to send this season. At least none of those scenes have nearly nude minors and tentacle porn. Hi everyone. It's been a while since I've made a video. Over a year actually. Things certainly didn't go how I planned, but it has been a blast getting back into it. I just want to take a second to thank a few people that have really been pushing me to make videos again, and keeping me accountable during the process of relearning how to script, and allowing me to bounce some of the jokes you heard in this video off of them. So, thank you Luden and Misty for keeping me sane these last couple of weeks. If you'd like to see more videos like this, maybe drop some shows you'd like to see me review in the comments. And if you feel like it, please hit that like button and subscribe. Have a wonderful day, my dudes.